Okay, well, I have 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. Again, welcome this evening. We'll be talking about College Credit Plus. It's our annual information meeting for both the high school and junior high. Our other two counselors are with us tonight, Jen Lewis from the junior high and Lisa Wermeister from the high school. And they will be able to respond to questions. So if you've used Zoom before, you'll notice a link to the chat function. So if you have questions through the course of the program, you're welcome to type those in, and either Jen and Lisa will be able to help you with that. I know Lisa's also planning on posting some links that may be helpful as well. If you have been involved in the College Credit Plus program, or if your student has been involved this past year, you are invited to remain and take part in this program, but that is not mandatory. What is mandatory is the letter of intent, which you need to redo every year. So I'll discuss that letter of intent more for those of you who are new, but again, if you're just if you've already been a CCP student, we don't expect you to necessarily sit through this, although you're welcome to. Lots of important information to continually review. So I'm gonna actually get started. What is College Credit Plus? It's a dual credit program. Dual credit means that you're earning credit at both the high school and the college. Students enroll in college courses. They virtually or actually become college students, and so they're have to adhere to all the requirements of that college, and they must successfully complete that course and in order to earn the college and high school credit. If a student fails or withdraws from a course, that information will continue to follow them on both their college transcript and their high school transcript. We'll talk about all this in more detail. It does cover students from grades 7 through 12. Students can take classes during the summer session, fall and spring semesters. They can take courses at the high school, on college campus, or as an online course. Rossford High School does offer several CCP courses in partnership with the University of Toledo. We offer Comp 1 and Comp 2 and a couple upper level Spanish classes. Through the University of Findlay, we offer calculus, and through Owens Community College, we offer several marketing classes and computer classes. So we already have a wide range of courses that students can take at the high school. But again, many of our students choose to actually go to the college campus, take classes, or do them as online classes. Students eligible to participate must demonstrate college readiness. In the past, that has been measured primarily through taking a placement test, such as the ACT, the SAT, or the AccuPlacer. Because of COVID, colleges have extended or provided some flexibility for that, just because of the difficulty of getting students in for placement tests, that being deemed not safe in this time. So the state has allowed colleges to admit students who meet a minimum 3.0 unweighted GPA. Unweighted means that the bonus for honors courses is not calculated into it. So this flexibility is being provided for this next school year, 21-22. I would anticipate that after that, in the school year 22-23, we will be back to placement tests. But again, we have this couple year reprieve from that specific requirement of doing placement tests. So students must demonstrate college readiness in this year through the GPA that they have earned. The second part is they have to apply and get accepted into a college. So All of the public universities in Ohio participate in this, lots of private colleges. For us specifically, that is usually University of Findlay, and we've had several students take courses at Lourdes University. We do have students who attend multiple colleges, so they may take a course at University of Toledo and also a course at Owens, in addition to taking classes at Rossford. You have to be an Ohio resident to take part in this. You do have to apply for admission in this program, and it's important when you get to the university website to make sure that you're applying for the College Credit Plus program and not applying as a regular college student. So there is a separate application for that. You have to meet the college's admission requirements. Again, that's the 3.0 higher or higher, or potentially taking a placement test. Then you have to contact the college to learn about any additional paperwork that they might require. University of Toledo and Owens both have consent forms that parents must complete and submit, typically back to the high school, and then we would forward them on once we know that the student has applied to the program. Colleges have the final decision on student admission. It's not something that the high school counselors determine. Again, this is totally up to the colleges to accept students into the program. Once a student has demonstrated college readiness and has applied, then they would have to register for courses. So that is done with a college rep. So typically a student would be making an appointment with the college rep and discussing possible courses, and then the rep would enroll them into that class. There can be some exceptions, especially with some of the courses that we offer at Rossford. We may be able to help somewhat, but even our students who are taking classes at Rossford often are contacting their university rep to enroll them in those classes. So what courses can a student take? They can take courses that satisfy their high school graduation requirements, and working with your counselor at the school to make sure that you understand if that course is going to complete a graduation requirement or not is important. Rossford does have some requirements in computers that would be important to keep track of, the total number of credits. So you really, even if you're a full-time CCP student and taking all of your classes at the university, it's still important to be in touch with your high school counselor throughout this process. So the courses that universities require of students, at least initially, are referred to as level 1 courses. It includes a lot of different courses. Transferable courses are courses that will move with the student from one university to another. It can cover a wide range of topics like IT or computer science, foreign language like we offer at Rossford. Part of the technical certificate, I have a student who's taking classes in welding at Owens right now. The colleges even set up 15 or 30 credit hour pathways, sets of courses that students can take to kind of guide them either through potentially the first year of their college career or helping them get a head start on a specific career track. You can take courses in study skills or career success. Again, colleges will post their level 1 courses when a college rep enrolls and registers your student into a class. They do keep track of this and will help through that process. Once you complete 15 credit hours, which is typically 5 classes in level 1, you can move up to level 2 courses, which just means that there really is a pretty wide range of courses that students can be involved in. There are some courses that you can't take. Private lessons in music or art, dancing, things like that aren't allowed. Any courses that have exceptionally high fees. You can't do a study abroad program. Can't take phys ed classes. Classes have to be taken for a grade. And you cannot take remedial courses. So it has to be 100 level or higher courses. So remedial courses would be for students who are not college ready, who have not demonstrated that they can be successful in college classes. And that's not part of this program. So, other requirements, and this is an important one, the grades that you earn in a College Credit Plus course and show up on your college transcript are the same grades that will be entered into your high school transcript. And that will be factored into your GPA. So these are classes that do have consequences, positive consequences if you do well in them, potentially negative ones if you don't do well. So at Rossford High School, we weight grades for honors courses. Students get an additional 0.5 a bump on their grades. So instead of getting a 4.0, if they get an A, they could get a 4.5. They get an A. For advanced placement classes, students get a whole point bump. So instead of a 4.0, they could earn a 5.0. So for any College Credit Plus courses offered in those same subject areas that we offer honors or advanced placement courses, those courses will also be weighted to match that. What kind of classes should students consider? Certainly something in a career pathway that might interest them. The colleges can be very helpful in choosing courses that may help satisfy requirements for a specific major or degree. And we have some students who have been very careful about that so that the College Credit Plus courses that they're taking actually are going to save them money and time down the road when they continue in college. We've also had students who haven't chosen as carefully and haven't been able to take as full advantage of that. Again, you can take College Plus courses that will satisfy graduation requirements in any of the core areas and some of those other areas that students just may be interested in, like computers or fine arts. It's important, as I said before, that students work with their counselor to make sure they're completing their high school graduation. And if there's any testing associated with some classes, that if they take those as CCP classes, there may be some testing required. There is a limit to how many credits, how many classes a student can take in a year. So 30 credit hours per year is that maximum. Basically, if you look at a college class, which is typically 3 credit hours, that would be 10 classes a year that students are kind of limited to take. So you can't just kind of bulk up and try to, earn as many, college credits as possible. Not that would be a wise idea anyways. But understanding that a 3 credit hour college course does convert to or is equivalent to a full year high school class. So if we have a student who takes English 11-10 Comp 1 at the University of Toledo, which they will complete in a semester, that would be considered equivalent to their English 10 or their English 11 class, which is a whole year or whole 1 high school unit. A lot of courses may be 2 credit hours, so that wouldn't be quite as much as a full credit. So students, there's a maximum total number of credits that you can earn over the course of your high school career. It's limited to 120. Again, these are things that you'll work out with your high school counselor, and especially if you find by your junior or senior year that you're taking a lot of college classes, that's definitely something that you need to watch for. Because if you take more than 30 credits in a school year, you may possibly have to pay for those courses. So anything over that 30 credits, and that would include both college courses and those high school credits as well. If you go over that 30 credits in a year, you would be financially responsible for anything over that. So you may have to drop a course in order to avoid that penalty, or again, choose to pay for that course yourself. All right, some differences between high school and college. Tests is a big one. High school tests are given pretty frequently, often, at the end of each chapter. So in a quarter, there may be 3 or 4, big tests that a student that will impact a student's grade. College, you may end up in a course that might only have 1 or 2 tests as part of the grade for that. The amount of time that students have to study for in a college class is something to really keep track of as well. So typically, a challenging high school course, you may be studying an hour a day on a really big project, maybe, put in 2 or 3 hours in a day. In college, for every hour that you spend in class, you have to assume that you're going to spend 2 to 3 hours in homework. So if you're taking a 3 credit hour course, then that could be 6 hours of homework a week. If you have 2 or 3 college classes, I mean, it adds up. Definitely can be a real difference there. Just the way that students learn is different between high school and college. So in high school, you get most of the information that you need from that class in class. And the expectations out of class as far as what you have to learn is kind of minimized. Now that's a little bit different this year, and in some ways, maybe this year is a good model of how students need to approach a college class, where if you're not in class, you're still working on stuff the next day. Again, college classes generally require more independent thinking. The writing assignments are usually a lot longer. And you have to do a lot more out of class research and study. Grades, high school grades are typically based on lots of different things. Several quizzes over a quarter, maybe 3 or 4 tests, lots of homework assignments that can be used to build up a student's grades. In college, that's typically not the case. There's usually a couple tests, maybe a big project. So if a student does not do well on their first test, it can make that very challenging to get a decent grade in that course. Even the role of parents in the different settings is a bit different. In high school, we expect that parents are going to be contacting teachers, talking to their counselors, being a real advocate for their student. In college, while a parent can absolutely help their student and be a big support, calling the prof to, ask why, your son or daughter is not doing well in their class is typically just not, a part of that. Colleges even protect students' educational records. So while you can always tell your son or daughter that they have to show you what they've been working on, the college isn't necessarily going to be as forthcoming as a high school would be. Especially for students who may be on a 504 or an IEP plan, the high school setting provides lots of assistance, to the point of even having like a teacher specifically assigned to help them. So that typically is not going to happen in college. A student would have to be much more of a self-advocate, making sure their professor understands that they are supposed to receive accommodations, maybe attending labs, working with tutors that the college may set up to help them. Again, the student really has a much greater role in directing that at the college setting than at the high school setting. Some of the great benefits of being involved in the College Credit Plus program. So you're earning high school and college credits at the same time, classes that count as both. We've had students get a great head start on completing a degree. In the past, we've had students who have graduated high school and at the same time have graduated from Owens with an associate's degree. Or students who have completed their first year or year and a half in college. So a great head start. You get a hands-on chance to see what college life is really like, especially if you're taking your classes on the campus and walking around, going to the library, hanging in the union. And obviously you can save a great deal on tuition and textbook costs. But there obviously are some consequences if you don't do well in this program. So students who fail to pass a class or withdraw beyond the college's allowed withdrawal dates, which is typically like a month or less into the class, the district may charge you for the expense of that class. And that can be a hefty bill. That's a charge per credit hour, and that's typically 3 credit hours or more. So that can be a hit. The grades that a student earns in that CCP class show up permanently in their college transcript. So where this is especially important consideration would be, a student decides to take CCP classes at the University of Toledo with the hope of eventually becoming a student at the University of Toledo. But, they take the Comp 1 class and they don't do well in it. They've now created a permanent grade on their UT transcript that is going to follow them all the way up if they want to make that transition into becoming a student at the University of Toledo. So it's important to make sure that your student is successful in this program. If you fail courses or withdraw too often from them, colleges can potentially look at that and the amount of scholarships that they might be considering offering you could be impacted by that, or the government financial aid process also keeps track of that as well, and there can be an impact on that. So any questions you might have on that, college financial aid offices are a great source of information for that. If a student does perform poorly, they may also be placed on probation or dismissal in the program. Or if, again, they're trying to be a student eventually at that college, it could affect their status as far as that goes as well. So college credit plus probation is for any student whose cumulative CCP GPA drops below a C average. So when that happens, unfortunately has happened to some of our students in the past, the college notifies us that the student is now on probation and that they can only enroll in one course for the following semester, and typically not in the same subject area. So they can't just like repeat that one particular course. So they get a semester to try to bring their GPA back up above a C average, above the 2.0. And if they don't, then they potentially can be dismissed from the program. If you're dismissed from CCP by one university, you're permanently dismissed from CCP from any university. So that doesn't mean you can't go on to become a college student. You just can no longer take College Credit Plus courses while you're in high school. There is an appeal process to that. I'm going to show the information for that. Again, this is something that you would contact your counselor about if your son or daughter ends up in this situation and you need to make an appeal about that. Expenses can be minimal in the College Credit Plus program. So if you're taking courses at a public college university, there is no cost for taking these courses. The tuition and books and any required fees are covered. At private colleges, there can be an additional fee. So at the University of Findlay, for our calculus students, they do charge a fee for that. I forget what it was. I think it might be as much as $100 for that. Don't quote me on that. So private colleges can charge a small fee for that. And additional expenses, like if you have to buy a parking pass or get parking tickets at the university, that would be your responsibility. What kind of supports are available for students who are doing this? So your high school counselor, both Ms. Wermeister and Ms. Lewis and myself can be of great help in getting you started in this process. Ultimately, the persons that you work with most as a CCP student are your college advisors. University of Toledo, they call them success coaches. And these are students that, or advisors that would help you choose courses that you might be interested in, get you registered for classes. If you're struggling with something, point you in the right direction as far as resources go. So they are of great help. And then colleges also have to provide the same kind of resources they would to their own students, beyond College Credit Plus students. So, so they have math labs and English labs that students can take part in as well. If your son or daughter is a student athlete, it is important to remember that you do have to take a certain amount of coursework in order to qualify to be eligible to participate in sports. So it's important to work with your school counselor to make sure that you're taking an appropriate number of courses. And summer term courses can't be used to either try to bring your grade up so that you're eligible, or can't be used as courses for the following term, like for the fall term. So those kind of stand separate from that. Again, most important thing for student athletes, make sure you're talking to your high school counselor about that. As far as course credits transferring, the state of Ohio has done a lot to make sure that students who are taking classes at one public university can expect that those credits will transfer with them to another public university. So as long as you're going from one public to another public, pretty good odds that those courses will transfer with you. Now, from an Ohio public university to a private university, private universities aren't as compelled to accept those credits. And if you're going to an out-of-state college, the transfer is probably less reliable. You can actually, the college advisors are very good at understanding where their credits will transfer to as far as other colleges. So that's an excellent resource if you want to know if the courses that you're taking are really going to work for you if you attend a different college ultimately when you graduate. But there's a website that you can go to and look at that and can help you find out how one course transfers to another one, at least in the state of Ohio. Okay, a note, and this is maybe especially for those of you who might be parents of a junior high student. Being college ready is really just much more than just being academically ready. So just being ready for the demands and stress that a college class can create is an important thing. Really looking for someone who manages their time well, that's very organized. Remember that the grade that you earn becomes part of your high school record and also potentially part of your college record. So you definitely want to make sure you're not jumping in this too early and creating a hole that's hard to dig out of. And again, even way down the road, it could potentially affect financial aid considerations after high school. Deadlines, an important deadline is the letter of intent to participate form. I'll talk about that in just a second. That's on April 1st. If you're going to take a placement test, let's say you don't have that 3.0 minimum GPA to participate and want to try to qualify the replacement test, ACT and SAT testing dates are, there's usually one in April, absolutely will be tests in June for those. The AccuPlacer is a test that typically is taken at the college that you would be applying to. So that might be something that you would be looking to take. And again, doing this fairly early in the process really helps. As far as semester deadlines, if you're interested in taking summer CCP classes, those classes start in May, so you really have to get through this process pretty soon, by March and very early April. Colleges may have their own specific, in fact, they do all have their own specific deadlines, so watching for those. And again, things are a little more flexible right now because of COVID, but so some of those deadlines may change, but at this point, those should be all posted. So the letter of intent is a letter that, as a parent, you are signing, stating that you have received counseling on College Credit Plus, and that you understand the risks and benefits of that, and you're signing that to indicate that. It is not a commitment to go. So completing the letter of intent is not a commitment to participate in College Credit Plus, but it is something that we have to have in place in order to make sure that you are really aware of all the things that involved in it. That letter of intent will be available on our website along with this program, so you can download it and complete it and have your son or daughter bring it into the counseling office. We'll have hard copies in the counseling office so they can pick one up there as well. We would like those back by April 1st. It's possible the state may extend that, but at this point, we're looking at April 1st as our deadline for that letter of intent. All right, so what do you do if this is something that you're really interested in doing? You're doing the first part, you're attending this meeting and getting information about it. Next, you're going to complete that letter of intent, get it into the school office by April 1st. After that, you will apply to a college if you have that unweighted GPA of 3.0 or higher, or arrange to take a placement test with the college and complete any consent forms that the college may have and return those to the high school. Next, After you find out that you've been accepted into the CCP program at a college, you will make an appointment to meet with an advisor and potentially register for classes with that college. And then finally, after you've gotten through all that, you're going to meet with your school counselor to discuss how that may impact your scheduling or your graduation requirements, and to make sure we're informed about what you're doing. There's a whole list of websites for the CCP programs at Owens, UT, Findlay, BG, and Lords. Again, I believe Mrs. Wermeister may also have posted some links in the chat section as well. Got through that pretty close to a half an hour. We will stick around if there's any additional questions in the chat forum in order to be able to answer that. You feel free to contact your counselor, Ms. Lewis at the junior high, and Ms. Wermeister or myself. Feel free to send us an email if you have questions. Otherwise, I thank you for your time this evening and for showing up. Please stay in touch with us and let us know if you have any questions.